Aston Martin the Carmaker has sent shockwaves through Formula One with the announcement that they will be selling the Aston Martin Formula One team. It might be a surprising announcement for F1 fans, but for anyone who has half an ear to the motor industry, they will know that Aston Martin the Carmaker has been in increasing trouble for years now. The brand is desperate for cash, and the F1 team is an expense they can no longer afford. This doesn't stop the team's march towards success next season, though. Aston Martin have set their sights on dominating the new regulations, and this sale doesn't change anything. Today, I'll check out Aston Martin's sale of Aston Martin, the insane valuation it's given the team, and check out what Alonso has said about the team's work for next season. So don't go anywhere. This is a storyline we have heard countless times before in F1. Car manufacturer comes in and buys F1 team because they think it'll help their sales, spends millions upon millions trying to make it a success so they look good, discovered that it isn't returning much profit on its investment, and decides it has to sell it. For a car manufacturer, an F1 team is a luxury item. If they are financially in a good place, and there's someone at the top of the business who wants to try and prove to the world that they are the best car manufacturer in the world, then an F1 team is a great place to write off a few $100 million a year to avoid taxes. There is a lot of financial funny business that can occur if you have the right accountants for the job. Trying to use an F1 team to recover from a bad financial position is normally a mistake, though. Aston Martin's sale of the Aston Martin F1 team screams of all the classic problems with car manufacturers buying into F1 teams. Behind the scenes, the historic brand whose biggest claim to fame is being the wheels under James Bond is a mess. The maker of the Vantage, Vanquish, DB12 and DBX has lost half its stock value in the last year, which is very, very, very bad in case you don't know anything about stocks. Second quarter revenue dropped 34%, partly due to lower than expected demand for its supercars like the Valkyrie and upcoming Valhalla. Worst of all, of course, is a new tariff regime affecting exports to the United States. While a deal between the US and UK does lower the auto tariff to 10% from the frankly ridiculous 27.5% it reached, that's still 4 times bigger than what it's historically been. The worst part is the fact that the deal only gives that 10% rate to the first 100,000 vehicles shipped in a year from the entire UK on a first-come, first-served basis. After that, it's back to 27.5%. For small volume makers like Aston, that's terrible news. It essentially means that if a customer in the US was going to buy a $100,000 car, if they wanted an Aston Martin, it's instead now going to cost them $127,500. Aston Martin aren't the ones who pay that tariff, it is the US-based customer, and someone who might have been considering an Aston Martin before might now think that they're not going to get value for their investment and decide to go for something else instead. So that's the problem with Aston Martin at the moment. They need to find some money to cover that 34% drop in revenue. Fortunately for them, they happen to have a very large, very expensive, and completely superfluous asset, which is the F1 team. Well, actually, they don't have the whole F1 team. They only own 4.6% of the Aston Martin F1 team, a stake they bought to get their name on the side of the car. This is where Lawrence Stroll and his many fingers in many pies makes things a little complicated. The F1 team is run by the Canadian billionaire, whose U-Tree consortium also owns 33% of the carmaker. An existing arrangement between the two entities means that the F1 team will continue on under the Aston Martin brand, even though the actual manufacturer is cashing out. So Aston Martin will still be Aston Martin, but Aston Martin are no longer involved in Aston Martin. Alright, that's probably overcomplicating it a little bit, but you get the idea. The actual sale of the stake does give an insane valuation of the team and an idea of how popular F1 is at the moment among investors. The 4.6% stake in the team is being sold for $146 million. That means the Aston Martin F1 team is currently valued at $3.2 billion. The growth of the team has been astronomical. Last year, a deal with both HPS Investment Partners and Accel Partners gave the team a $2.4 billion valuation. A little before that, in 2023, Selling another slice of the pie to Arctos Partners yielded a $1.3 billion on-paper valuation. That means in 2 years, the value of the team has gone up 246%. Go further back to when Lawrence Stroll actually bought the team in 2018, and the numbers get scary. Then known as the historically embattled Racing Point, the Canadian billionaire acquired the whole shebang for $117 million. So, in 7-ish years, Stroll has made a 2,735% return on investment. Of course, he's invested untold amounts of money in the team to keep it alive and then bring it into the modern era, as well as selling off little bits along the way. That new Silverstone campus, for example, cost at least $200 million to build. Stroll will still be around to see his investment in the team come to fruition next year as well. The Canadian billionaire won't be leaving the team, and nor will his son, but that doesn't mean the 2026 season will be any less exciting. Before I talk about that though, if you're enjoying the video and want to catch all the news and analysis from this F1 season, then make sure to press the like button and subscribe to F1 Reverse. Thanks a lot. This season has been a bit of a letdown for Aston Martin. They had shown so much promise at the start of 2023, and since then it's just all gone backwards. They're 8th in the Constructors' Championship at the moment, and in the incredibly contested midfield, they don't look capable of breaking forward. Fernando Alonso has all but written off the second half of the season, and is instead turning his hopes toward a fresh start in 2026 with Aston Martin. The two-time world champion acknowledged that little is likely to change this season, and confirmed that most of the team's attention has now turned to its future contender, which is currently being developed under the sport's next-generation technical rules. Last weekend's Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps underscored their challenges, with Alonso finishing a distant 18th and Stroll in 14th. Despite tweaking the car's setup for the wet conditions, which the FIA did their best to avoid, Alonso dismissed it as a factor in their lackluster performance. "We did change the setup since this morning to accommodate a little bit for the rain, but it's not an excuse," he said after last Sunday's race. "We should not be that much slower in dry conditions with the changes we made. I think we were half a second from the Q2 cutoff time, and we were not half a second slower because of the compromises we did." The Spaniard's honest assessment reflects a broader reality for Aston Martin. The AMR25 is unlikely to deliver significant gains in the back half of this season. Actually, I think 80% of the focus is already on 2026 in a way, Alonso explained. Not only on the engineers and the design team, it's also the drivers ahead, apart maybe from the two McLaren drivers. The rest of us were just thinking a little bit and dreaming about what could be a good season next year, because this year is going to change very little, I think, in the second part. With that new technology campus, a dedicated engine supplier in Honda, and Adrian Newey spearheading the car's development, Alonso and co have every reason to be positive about what could be a very exciting year for the team next season. With their driver lineup staying the same though, it could be another season sat in the garage for longtime reserve driver Felipe Drugovich. That is, unless there's something behind Drugovich announcing multiple new sponsors in the past week. Interestingly, one of them, the announcement from Tekla, which is a Latin American employment agency for software developers, actually called out Drugovich as an F1 driver. Perhaps a sneak peek that he's going to be one of the 2 new Cadillac drivers who have yet to be announced. He isn't the only Aston Martin driver with dreams of getting a seat in 2026 though. American-born Aston Martin Jack Crawford, yes, I said American, has revealed that he's in talks for a move away from Aston Martin next season as he searches for an actual F1 seat. Talking about his future to autosport, he said, "It depends a lot on what I do in Formula 2 this year," he explained. "If I can win the championship, it would be great for my career. It could lead to many opportunities, whether with a seat on the grid or potentially again reserve driver for next year in Formula 1. We're trying to find any space on the grid, whether it's with Cadillac or Aston Martin or some other teams." Cadillac has said that an American driver is an attractive proposition, but if they do pick an American driver, it would only be on merit. Currently 3rd in the F2 Championship, Crawford is only 9 points off the lead, and an F2 title would definitely be all the justification Cadillac would need to hire him for a full-time drive. Do you think Crawford or Drugovich could get a full-time seat though? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you want to know more about the finances behind Formula 1, then check out our recent video on Christian Horner potentially buying an F1 team. Until next time, drive safe and bye for now.